Okay, after watching the hearing today, this thought keeps going through my mind. How can one man carry out this huge atrocity there in Moscow, Idaho, without knowing the layout of the house? 6 people in the house, not knowing if any one of those 6 people are up roaming around. I would really love to know that. How can one person kill 4 people in a matter of 8 minutes? This is where I'm going with it. This is a shout out to my friend and brother, A.R. Hayes. Maybe you can help me make sense of this. How can one man kill 4 people in 8 minutes in a house that he does not know the layout of, with 6 people in? And I don't believe that one person can handle 6 people, 6 healthy young adults at that time. I mean, yes, you had Bethany, who was down on the first floor, so she's a non-factor. But you had Dylan, who was on the second floor, along with Xana and Ethan, and you had Kaylee and Maddie upstairs in Maddie's room, which, if Kaylee was living there, why wasn't she in her own bedroom? See, that just makes me wonder. That just makes me think. If there was more than one person in the house at that time. Because you have Steve Gonzalez saying that there was one hell of a battle going on the second floor. But yet, Dylan managed to sleep through it. And she didn't wake up until she saw the assailant leaving the house. It's kind of, I don't know if I'd say convenient that she didn't get a good look at the person. All she got a look at was his eyebrows as he's leaving the house. And yes, I do believe the PCA is garbage. It's a tale written in Dylan's narrative that she saw a man clad in black with a face mask and bushy eyebrows. And if it was such a mess in that house, how come there was only one latent shoe print found throughout the entire house? And the shoe print was so faint, the only way they could see it was with Amino Black. And the only time Bethany is mentioned in the PCA, yes, she stated she saw Xana and Ethan at the Sigma Chi party from 9 to 1:45. But do we really know that they stayed that long? And how come the night of the unalivings, Dylan didn't have a timeline? She was basically unaccounted for the whole night, except for the part in the PCA where she and Bethany had come back to the house at 1 a.m. Why so specific? And of course, she had Bethany, who was on the first floor. Her room, her room wasn't like Xana's room was directly above the vacant bedroom, or what they called the storage room. But yet you had Dylan, who was like 20 feet away from Xana's bedroom, and she couldn't hear the one hell of a battle. And she couldn't hear the suspect stomping up and down the stairs right by her bedroom wall. Like I said, I do not believe that one man could carry this crime out. I don't believe it. There had to been multiple assailants. I really do believe there was multiple assailants in that house that night. Because you have the injury patterns. The injury patterns for Kaylee and Maddie were different than the injury patterns for Xana and Ethan. Xana and Ethan had sharp force injuries with an edged weapon. Kaylee and Maddie had quote unquote visible stab wounds. And according to Kaylee's dad, Steve, her injury patterns did not match Maddie, because he was going by what the coroner was stating, that Kaylee's injuries were far more brutal than Maddie's. And Kaylee's were more like punctures or tears, and not really punctures, like gouges. Can a K bar actually make gouges, or can it do just stab wounds? Or did the perpetrator have two different weapons with him that night? See, nobody really knows because of this dissemination order, this gag order. Yes, I do understand that they're trying to protect the rights of Brian for a fair trial, but why a gag order? Who else are they trying to protect? Are they trying to protect the victims' families? Even though we've all heard Steve G out there, you know, doing his media tours. And how come Steve G and his wife, Christy, are the only victims' families speaking to the media, or to Banfield or News Nation or Fox or ABC? How come You don't hear hardly a peep from Maddie's dad, Ben, and her stepmom, Corey, or her actual mother. You don't hear a peep out of Jeff Kernodle or Jasmine. You don't hear a peep out of the Chapins. How come you only hear from the Gonzalez's? And why? Well, why was Steve scolded about getting too close to an informant? Which informant is he talking about? I do believe Brian is a patsy, that someone is being protected because one lone person, even with the stature of Brian, one lone person could not manage 6 healthy young adults walking into a house that he didn't know the layout of or anything. That's my firm belief. One person could not have done this in 8 minutes, because you never know. Maddie's door could have been locked, and there could have been a little bit of time to try to get into Maddie's room. And even with the like Maddie and Kaylee, Kaylee had defensive wounds. An 8-minute timeline. If you're fighting back against an attacker, that's going to take longer than 8 minutes. Just like downstairs on the second floor, where one hell of a battle was taking place. And you got a male in the house, more than likely you probably didn't know was there. So you're fighting with him. That's going to take a little bit longer than 8 minutes to dispatch a healthy male. And then you had Xana, who was in a fierce battle, to the point where her fingers were almost severed off. Fighting with the attacker with the knife, trying to protect herself, and she was grabbing the knife, and her fingers were almost severed off. That's going to take longer than 8 minutes. That really is. And how come we haven't heard about any video? When we've heard about videos of quote unquote a white Elantra, but we haven't seen any videos of the white Elantra driving away from King Road at a high rate of speed. And we saw that what looked like a Ford Fusion pulling through Linda Lane, and in that car doing the 3-point turn. For all we know, that could have been the DoorDash driver. But my good friend and buddy AR, maybe you could help me out here and help me understand this in your own words as well. I am eager to hear from you. You also have a good night. Remember, like, subscribe, and comment on my channel, and hit that bell notification for any new uploads. I await your response, AR.